Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. Now, in Doctor Who it is undisputed that the Daleks are the biggest villains in Doctor Who history. Their impact not only on the show, but on pop culture in Britain in general, is unmatched by anything Doctor Who has ever put on screen before, or ever will again. But instantly, the second villain that you think of in Doctor Who is the Cybermen. First debuting in 1966, the Cybermen have been a staple of the show ever since, particularly in the Second Doctor's era. We've seen the Cybermen in many different forms, different designs, and even different universes. One thing remains the same about them: their absolutely horrifying nature. The thing is, the Cybermen could be a potential future of the human race in reality. The more we want to fix ourselves, the more we will lose ourselves. And that's terrifying, I think. So in the same spirit as the video I did about the Daleks, I'm going to look at some stories to do with the Cybermen that didn't make it to TV, for whatever reason. Now, some of these stories were revisited, including the last one I'm going to talk to you about, as we've had a very recent update on it. Just before we start this video properly, I wanted to say that I will not be including Genesis of the Cybermen in this, simply because I've covered it before in my 5th Doctor Stories That You Will Never See video. So if you want a lot of information about that story, feel free to go to that video. I will put a link to it in the description. The first story I'm going to talk about would have been big business at the time and probably would have been one of the most infamous episodes of the black and white era of Doctor Who. Unfortunately, the script didn't get as far as a title or a plot outline, but what was pitched would have been incredible. After Terry Nation's failed attempt to get a Dalek spin-off off the ground in 1967, in 1968 it was pitched to him that the Daleks could take on the Cybermen in a story co-written by Kit Pedler. Unfortunately, this idea was not picked up because Terry Nation believed the Daleks and the Cybermen could not coexist on screen, and one of them would overshadow the other. Now, I can definitely see where he's coming from. If you look at the Series 2 finale, where we see the Daleks and Cybermen on screen, the Daleks are clearly more powerful than the Cybermen, and I feel like something similar would have happened here. I personally also think that Terry Nation was worried about some bias, that because he tried to leave the show, that they would try and undermine his creations. But I don't think that would have been the case at all. Fortunately, the second story I'm going to talk about today didn't get the go-ahead due to it being too similar to a script that was already in production. Being pitched by Mike Tucker and Robert Perry for season 26, the story Illegal Alien would have featured the Cybermen in World War II London. Now, this of course wouldn't have come very long after their appearance in Silver Nemesis, so it would have been great to have seen them given a bit more justice than they were in that particular story. Again, unfortunately, the issue with this story is that it was pitched around the same time that Curse of Fenric was pitched, and the production team went with the latter script. And I think we can agree that was probably a good decision, as the Curse of Fenric is possibly one of the better classic series stories in general. I have a feeling this would have been a very big step in the Doctor's arc in this series, as he was always dealing with his own morality and what have you, and facing a race like the Cybermen will bring you to your wit's end in terms of your morals. So I think this would have been a fascinating story. I should mention that Illegal Alien has now been reproduced by the BBC in not one but 2 novels. Initially getting a release in 1997 and then subsequently being reproduced in 2013 as it was selected to be part of the 50th anniversary range. Now, unfortunately, there is not a lot to be known about this final story, but it has recently been in the public eye as it is going to be remade as a Big Finish audio venture. Being pitched for Series 12, this story is going to be a lot darker than the one we ended up getting. For those who don't know, this story would have been in place of Revenge of the Cybermen, with this story merely being called Return of the Cybermen. One of the only story elements that is known about this story is it would have taken place in a space casino rather than the Ark / space station that it takes place in Revenge of the Cybermen. And instead of the Vogons from Revenge of the Cybermen, they were going to change this concept to actual human miners from Wales, I believe. Now imagine this means those miners would not be in the casino, they would be on Earth, and it would cut between the two, and maybe the Cybermen are looking for gold on Earth as opposed to on Voga. I can't confirm this or deny this because there is no information out of there until Big Finish decide to do their version of it. And there we have it, guys. Unfortunately, there wasn't an awful lot of substantial information about any of these stories, but hopefully I was able to fill in with a bit of context to each story, and I hope I made it an enjoyable video for you all. I am really grateful for the support this series has been getting, and I hope to continue to do it. And hopefully I will see you guys for another video very soon.